Went off to college. I met a girl named Janice. Quickly fell in love.
Came up and said, "I'm so sorry." And I said, "What happened?"
I've been called to go to Alaska.
You might have been called, but I haven't.
How did that play out for you?
Not well.
The mechanic came out and said, this truck will not make it the rest of the way.
He heard a clunk.
I've just made the worst mistake of my life. I did not know anything about life action.
I remember when we left that retreat, I
job.
said, "I wish we could do this for other pastors."
Welcome to Changed Lives, a special limited series in which I explore the incredible stories of the people behind the scenes at Life Action, a ministry with a mission of reviving relationships through transformative events. Each of these individuals, my coworkers, have experienced God move in big and unexpected ways. And the more I heard their stories, the more I thought, people need to hear this. In this series, you'll get a first-hand look at how God is working in and through the people of Life Action, the challenges they face, the faith that sustains them, and the lives being transformed along the way. Their stories are powerful. In today's interview, I'm talking with Doug and Marilyn Cuthbert, a couple who serve pastors and have a deep passion for counseling. Both grew up in rural communities and met as young adults in college. Living a life full of compassion and adventure, Doug and Marilyn have a beautiful story to share about grief and living life fully for Jesus. As you listen, consider how God might be shaping your own journey. Life Action is fueled by servants like Doug and Marilyn, people whose lives reflect a genuine love for Christ and his people. Maybe God is inviting you to join in that mission too. Let's dive in. Could you just describe what your role is today? Like if you met somebody in an elevator and they asked you what you do, what's your short explanation of what your role is here and what your titles are and what you do?
Our role here is to be in charge of the pastors' retreats. We plan them out for the 5-day retreats, the content, and schedule them and run them.
This is a team effort, correct?
Right. When we facilitate, we both speak or try to get them to speak as well, but it's back and forth.
It's a team effort because many of the pastors come with their wives.
Yeah.
We want them all to.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
And our goal is to reach the wife just as much as the pastor.
Yes.
Maybe even more so.
Yeah. First, I want to start with lives before Life Action. Let's start with you, Marilyn. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
I am the third of 5 kids growing up on a farm in rural Michigan, Hillsdale,
Hillsdale, okay.
Michigan area,
Mhm.
and probably went to church, I'm guessing, the first week I was born,
Okay.
and every week after that, unless we were sick. So learned about the Lord very early in life, really made a commitment that I pinned back to when I was about 9, and have had many opportunities in my life to say, yes, I want to follow you. I'm going to follow you wherever you want me to go. But early, I thought it would be nice to be a pastor's wife.
Early on, you thought that.
Early on. So I went to Moody Bible Institute and didn't meet the pastor to be a wife of.
Can I ask you why you thought that would be a role that you would want? What was it about being a pastor's wife?
I don't really know. Now looking back on it, my pastor's wife was not an amazing person that I really would want to be just like.
Interesting.
But I thought that would be a great place to serve in the church. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and I thought I could be my stay-at-home mom person and just be involved in the church and support a husband that was the pastor.
And so it sounds like your parents really were involved with the local church and made that a big part of your life growing up. And were they farmers then?
Yes.
Okay. And what did they farm?
We had cows. That was our main income. Not big. It was a small farm. About 20 cows was max. At different points of times, we had chickens, pigs, sheep, and they did crop farming as well.
So you're growing up on a farm and hopeful that you have your life planned out, you have a plan, you're going to go to Bible college and meet the man of your dreams and then become a pastor's wife.
Possibly. Sounded good to me.
Sounded good to you. Okay. You get to college, and then what?
I had one date, and it was a blind date. And that was the end of that.
So did that work out?
So it didn't work out that
Okay.
I ever dated anyone in college.
Okay.
So when that was over, at that time, you only got a diploma from Moody. You had to go away to get your degree or get more of your education and come back and get a degree. So I ended up going to Spring Arbor College, now university, to get my degree and see what God was going to show me because I just didn't know what I was going to do next.
What was your degree in?
It ended up being in Christian education.
Okay. Were you thinking maybe you'd go the teaching route or?
I was thinking maybe
Mhm.
so, but I wasn't getting a teaching degree. So I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it, but I thought maybe I would end up on a mission field.
Okay.
So that was kind of my plan at that point. Maybe the Lord will direct me to a mission field.
Okay. And what did the Lord direct you to after?
He directed me to marry him.
Okay. Correct. All right. So that's how old were you at that time?
22.
Okay. 22. So, all right. I'm going to then kick over to you. We're going to
Okay.
leave that there in suspense, figuring out how you two met. But I want to start first by going back. So tell me a little bit about where you're from and what life was like growing up.
I'm from Eau Claire, which is just north of here, and grew up on a farm as well. We had beef cattle. Hers were milking cattle.
Okay.
And same with hogs and chickens and stuff like animals of that nature. Loved going to Eau Claire. It's a small school, played all the sports, wrestled and was all state in football and played basketball for a period of time and just enjoyed it a lot and thought I knew everything and was like the jock of the place and went off to college and played football my first year and got hurt and kind of like all my dreams went down the pipe and then I transferred to Spring Arbor University and began my degree there.
Okay. So let me backtrack a second. When you were growing up in Eau Claire, also on a farm, was church a big part of your life as well?
My parents were and still are very moral people, very value driven. Our family was a very strong nucleus around them and around family values. But we kind of casually went to church. It was kind of I go to this institution and I'm not sure why. And then we had somewhat of a crisis in our family. And so my uncle and aunt invited us to switch churches. And we went to a church and I remember the first Sunday there. Sitting in the pew and hearing the gospel, like, you mean I could know that I'm forgiven of my sins and I could be free and I not have to pay for it? Because in my mind, I was like, I was guilty and I knew I was guilty and I knew I needed something. And this pastor showed me, that Christ was our way. I did what probably a lot of people did. I accepted Christ then. Didn't tell anybody, and then kept coming and kept coming. But then there were some revival services in our nearby town, and I attended those. And during that time, I went forward and committed my life to Christ and to really cement my heart that He was my Savior, and I wanted to follow Him.
Yeah.
And so from then on, that church was where I came to know Jesus. I later came back and I pastored it for 30 years.
Wow. Well, what a moment. How old were you when this happened?
16.
You were 16.
Yes.
Okay, so you're in high school. I'm trying to put that in with the image of you as the jock and how did those two things work together, right? You're king of the school, but also accepting Jesus. And sometimes those are hard to merge those two together sometimes. How did that work for you?
It was fantastic.
That's great.
Because He meant so much to me that I went back to school and I would carry my little Gideon Bible And I would, we also started a Fellowship of Christian Athletes Club, and I was the president of that. And just, I just made it a point to share my faith in Christ from then on. So I look at it now as just a time where God had put me in a place and a time and drew my heart to Him. And it was just my platform to talk about the Lord.
That's really powerful. So then when you went to college and you were an athlete, but also a follower of Christ, and you got hurt,
Right.
what role did your faith play in anchoring you? Because when you're a good athlete, a lot of athletes can really find their identity in sport. And if something bad happens, then what do they cling to? Who are they? Did you wrestle with that at all?
I wrestled with that big time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not only did I wrestle, I was a good student in high school, but they never taught me how to study. So my first year of college, first semester of college, I had 3 C's and a D, and I was on academic probation. So I went from thinking I knew a whole lot to realizing I didn't. And then the atmosphere of football did not encourage the atmosphere of studying.
Sure.
And because of that, I was just in this turmoil of this conflict of these two different worlds, and which one was I going to be on? And then plus the whole spiritual area, I found that I was having lots of trouble connecting with the community of Christians there. So I was just searching, and I ended up not really getting anchored in any community of my faith there. But I would say through that time, there was some tough decisions that I made, and I am so glad that I pursued scriptural principles and thoughts in my walk with Jesus over all the other things that were offered to me throughout that time. So yes, it was tried, but at the same time, I felt like God never abandoned me. I never felt like I was alone. When I look back at it, I came out a mess, but it maybe was a good mess.
Isn't that funny how that works with God sometimes?
Yeah.
Working through the mess, and you think, oh, how could this ever get any better? And God uses that mess to really draw you closer to Him.
Right, because I knew I needed, now when I look back, I really needed that mess to cry out more to God than what I was doing.
That's beautiful. So you transfer colleges, and then now you're going to pursue ministry?
Yes, that's correct. I was going to pursue ministry. I forgot for a while there, but I was going to pursue just the ministry with youth and being a youth pastor. And I was okay with just getting a degree. My degree was going to be in philosophy, religion, and I was okay to just get the degree and be a good elder in the church and a good support to the pastor and encouraging the pastor, and go back into farming.
Interesting.
But in that time, the first semester, I met a girl named Janice, and quickly fell in love. And so after 2 years of dating, we were married. We lived off campus, and she commuted. And she would come back and say, man, when I commute, I can't find any friends. So one time she came home and she said, I met this girl named Marilyn. And they became best friends, shared their stories together. And what I loved about Marilyn at that time, without even knowing it, is Janice and I would have disagreements. She was from more the heart of Detroit, a big city.
Sure.
And I'm the farm boy. And when she would go and talk to Marilyn about how we would disagree and have our discussions, Marilyn would almost always be on my side.
Oh, country kids got to stick together, I guess.
That's right. So they became very good friends that year, and they would do cartwheels in the library together and goof around.
What do you remember about Janice?
She was spunky and fun. She was a fun girl. And she did have her questions. Her family was so different than either one of our family communities that she she struggled with some things in the spiritual commitment realm. And so it was fun for me to interact with someone like that coming off of a Bible college
Yeah.
education, just to be her friend and meet her right where she was.
Yeah. And she probably asked you questions that even strengthened your faith because maybe
Probably.
you had just assumed the answers growing up in it, and then you had to kind of, think
Yeah,
about
because
that. Yeah.
she had the very stable home,
Mhm.
and whereas Janice was from a very unstable home,
Sure.
had trouble with trying to find her way in connecting.
He had taken off that year so that they would both end up as seniors the way it was going to
Okay.
work out. So he said, you go to school for a year, I'll work.
Okay.
And he worked on a dairy farm. I never got to know him. I mean,
Did you ever meet?
I saw him one time
Okay.
in the parking lot when she went out to meet him in his car. And then the last day of that semester, this is just one semester.
Well, wait, you should say that one time in the car.
Oh, well.
Tell her what happened.
Well, I stuck my tongue out because he was not looking at me and she was, or something.
Yeah.
So when he turned around to look at who was behind him, it was me
Sticking your tongue out.
sticking my tongue out.
That's a good first impression.
Then I went to their house, their trailer, the last day of school because I was commuting, she was commuting, but she was closer. So she said, why don't you spend the night with me? And then you can go to your last exam tomorrow morning early and not have to drive all the way up here.
Sure.
So that's when I really had a conversation with him and met him.
Okay.
Yeah. And then that summer, she was headed towards a social work degree and really had a heart for handicapped children. And she was on her way to do physical therapy with a handicapped child. And she was killed in a car accident. And so Marilyn was a Goodwill ambassador to the Netherlands, so she wasn't around. She was overseas. And so we went through the funeral and all of that at that time. And when it came to school, I had the choice of would I go back to school because it happened August 8th or would I not? And I chose to go back to school because I felt like I just needed some direction at the time. And that's where I felt the Lord was leading. So when we were registering for classes that fall, I stuck around to be able to tell Marilyn what had happened that summer. But
I had gone early to surprise Janice and found out when I went into the bookstore that someone that knew Janice and I were friends came up and said, I'm so sorry, what happened to Janice? And I said, what happened? And so she told me. That was awful. I went to the car and just cried. I thought, what am I supposed to do? She's my friend. And I had had lots of friends at Moody. Now I'm at this different school and I really have one friend. And that's the one that is now gone. And so I was the very last one through registration and went through registration. When I was done and walking back across the gym, Doug was walking toward me. And he had gotten a postcard that I had mailed to her saying, I'm back and I'm going to try to meet you at registration. And
we went outside and we talked for 2-3 hours about what had happened.
We really, to put it all together, we really fell in love over the grief that we both had.
Sure.
Which is not really the best way to fall in love, but we both needed each other because we could talk about her to each other. By that time, all of his classmates had graduated because he had
been
dropped out a year.
So you're all each other had.
Pretty much.
Well, that's how we met, and that's how our relationship started. And then I visited her farm and her parents, and first time I visited there, her mom said to her father, I really think Marilyn ought to marry that guy.
Wow.
This is the first time she met him.
Wow.
So
he made quite an
impression. I say she fell in love before I did. She did.
Mothers know.
Yeah, they do.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then, but we had to work through some things. Like she felt guilty about
Sure, that's what I was going to ask.
dating.
How do you? That is such a unique and tricky. And now you're in ministry, and your heart is for marriages. How did you do it the way that you would counsel someone now to do that? I mean, you're probably so effective because of this experience that you had, but what was that like?
Well, I really I felt terribly guilty that I started being attracted to him. I thought it was awful.
Yeah.
So I tried to push, I'm betraying my friend. I tried to push all those feelings down. I really tried hard, and it didn't work. They just kept coming back up.
I would say that I was lonely, but I don't know if that's what was driving me. I think the grief was too, but I think it was the grace of God and goodness of God, because within 2 months, I said to Marilyn, and this created issues, I said, you know what? I've been in love once. I got married once. I'm not here to play games. If you're not on the path to marry me after 2 months, I think we better call it off. And so I was pushing this relationship. And so when you asked, would I counsel anybody to do that again? No.
Yes.
But we had been counseled to slow down and all
You
that.
had been.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think it was great advice, but and that's why when we go back and we talk about our story, it was out of the grace and goodness of God that she was a good person and I was a good person, because we really only knew fractions of who we really were.
Yeah.
And we were already making commitments to be together.
Yeah, it's that, and I'm not in this field, so I might be completely wrong on this, but there's something about trauma bonding, right? Would it be similar in that nature of that you are clinging onto each other and you both have this shared grief and the connection becomes so much more intense faster? Would that be accurate?
Could be.
Yeah.
Because that's how we experience
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
I think his trauma was more than mine.
Sure.
I was essentially hoping that God would bring a husband.
Yeah.
And never thought
It's
it
not
would
that
happen
way.
this way.
Mhm,
This is
sure.
the wildest thing
Right
ever.
way.
And I could really see in his heart, even though he was going to finish a degree and maybe go toward farming. Well, farming didn't put me off at all,
Sure.
because I'd been raised on a farm. I loved being on a farm.
We both liked a rural lifestyle.
Yeah.
We liked this. Neither one of us wanted to live in a city. We both wanted children. We both had in our minds ministry of some sort. We didn't know what it actually would be. And we both had strong support of our families around us. So there were just so many things that seemed to line up as well.
Yeah. Turns out you were quite compatible.
Right.
Yes. Okay. So you get married. How soon after do you get married?
Less than a year.
Okay.
He didn't want us to get married in June because that was his first anniversary. So I set the date for July 1st.
Okay.
We graduated together instead of he and Janice.
Sure.
And it felt like this is right that we now get married, because we are ready to do something different with our life.
Yeah.
We're done with our education. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
Neither one of us exactly belong any place. So we'll get married and figure it out
Together. Yes. So what did you do after graduation?
I went to farming.
Okay.
I farmed with my older brother, who has 4,000 acres of ground, and I worked with him. I had the opportunity after a couple of years to join the partnership with him. But then during that same time, we were searching with God about what we should do with our lives. And we went forward and dedicated our lives to full-time ministry. At the church that I came to know Christ at and saved, they hired me then as their youth pastor.
Right.
And so we began ministry there together. And then she began teaching at a Christian school.
Interestingly, when we went forward to commit ourselves to whatever God you want us to do, we want to do, it was at another revival service.
Really?
This was not Life Action
Okay.
either, but it was those kind of services that really changed our lives,
Yes.
because the message was dedicating yourself to ministry and Christian work or just the
Yeah.
Lord. I can't remember the emphasis, but it was like we kind of looked at each other and
Yeah.
went forward.
Yeah.
And it was after that that he took the job as the youth pastor, which meant he quit the farming.
Right.
And so it was a very short time that he did the farming part.
Yeah. You're youth pastor for a while. How long do you do that for?
This is part of where my heart turned towards pastors.
Mhm.
So during that time, I was running the youth group, and the pastor that mentored me, taught me doctrine, taught me everything how to study the Bible, all those kind of things, came to me one morning, called me in his office and said, my wife handed me papers of divorce last night. And he had no idea of it. And I can remember walking out of that meeting with him and saying to myself, I never want this to happen to me. And I have to figure this out of how can you know the Bible so well, forward and backwards, and lose your wife and your 4 kids? Because she ended up taking the 4 kids and he was left all alone. That meant there was no senior pastor at the church. And I became the senior pastor for like 6 months while they looked for somebody. And once they found someone, we had already talked about it, and we were going to go on to seminary.
Okay.
Because I knew I needed so much more
Sure.
training in the scripture and understanding people. We were there for 4 years. I got a degree in theology and a degree in counseling.
After you graduate, where do you go?
Well, by then we've had 3 kids.
Oh,
We
so
had-
let's pause there. So the babies came.
The babies
all of
have been
this.
coming up.
The babies have
One in
been coming.
Michigan, one in Indiana, and then we're pregnant for the second one in Indiana
Okay.
when he graduated
Okay.
from seminary.
What was early mom life like through all these
Good.
transitions?
I still love being a mom.
Yeah.
He was able to still farm, rent land and farm it with his dad's equipment.
Hmm.
So that was our main income. And he also worked part-time at seminary. And Ed did some babysitting, but I was able to stay home.
Hmm.
So I loved being a mom, and I loved supporting him. It was a very happy time of our lives,
Yeah.
actually. It was
Yeah.
very simple. We had very little, but we were happy.
When you think back about that time, like what was the sweetest part of that time?
What I would say for me, watching her, was she would put her little babies in strollers and walk side by side, and they'd have probably 300 yards to go to the mailbox, and it'd take them 45 minutes
Yep.
because they'd have to talk about the little ants and the little rocks
yes.
and
Adventures.
the adventures of what was around for them. And I still remember her coming back all aglow like, man, we did this little trip out there.
I looked forward to that every day.
You
That's
did.
actually the first thing that came to my mind,
Oh.
is having time to be with my kids and enjoying it
Yeah.
and just
Oh, I love
mentoring
that.
them, being their mom.
Mhm.
And they'd get so excited when Doug would come home
Oh,
from
they would.
seminary.
Yeah.
They'd, run to the window or the door.
And we sought to, when I came home, I would try and disconnect from
Yeah.
studying
Yeah.
and
Be dead.
all that and be dad for a while
Mhm.
and then stay up late. Part of our training is Marilyn had been a missionary to Alaska once
Yes.
by herself,
Okay.
Summer missionary.
summer missionary. And so we felt that if we're going to go into pastor, we ought to have some mission experience.
Okay.
And so we, together with
2 kids.
2 kids, I couldn't remember, it was 2 or 3, went to Alaska, and we took a pastor's place in the Yukon Territory of Canada for a summer and pastored the church there, which is right out in the middle of nowhere, Haynes Junction, maybe a town of 200 or 100, and mountains all around us, and we loved it.
You did.
we decided in that period of time that we were not going to be willing to go be missionaries someplace where they wanted him to travel a lot. And that's what it felt like that would be up there. So we
Just
Yeah.
because of the distances
Yeah,
between.
between the small cities.
Sure.
And they'd said, we wanted you to go visit all these cities, and you'd probably be gone 3 or 4 nights a week.
and I said, no, that's not my plan for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to grow up with their dad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we both felt that.
So we kind of put a pause on thinking about mission work at that time. And when seminary was over, he looked for a pastorate, just any place, anybody. You have to have a job. And at the
Yeah,
end of seminary,
you do.
we were actually out of money, totally out of money. I was pregnant and
With baby number 3?
with baby number 3.
Okay.
And we borrowed money from his parents for the last month to have any money.
Wow.
So a job was very important.
Yes.
And he found a church nearby that
Mhm.
was looking for a pastor, and he candidated there and got that job.
Okay. So where was this church at?
Goshen, Indiana.
Okay. So kind of coming back closer to home. You
Love
leave
that.
your Alaskan adventure and you come back home.
We had a great ministry there for 6 years
Okay.
and enjoyed it.
At the church.
Yeah, and felt like during that time, people grew. We put on an addition on the building, and the congregation grew, and people grew, and
They remodeled the parsonage, and it was very nice.
yeah, it was really moving forward. But I was not very happy.
Why not?
Well, I felt like I was still um, not able to develop the kind of meaningful ministry I wanted to. They wanted me to be a good preacher, and I wanted to build more of a community
Mm-hmm.
and more of closeness within each other. And they are wonderful people, and they still are wonderful people, you know. But I wanted more to be part of people's lives. About 4 years in, I got a call from a friend in Alaska that we had made on our summer missionary trip. And he said, I've been following you and your ministry. I'd like you to come and join my private practice in counseling in Alaska. Would you consider doing that? I hung up the phone and then created a crisis for 2 years. As I walked into the living room and said to Marilyn, I've been called to go to Alaska to join the ministry there in the counseling ministry. And the call wasn't a call from this man, a call was from God, I felt.
Mm-hmm.
And I would use that trump card for the next 2 years.
How did that play out for you?
Not well.
I'm asserting that.
I said, you might have been called, but I haven't.
Mm-hmm.
And so it created almost like, I don't know, a fight. But
Well,
we didn't
yeah.
fight. We just we both
Yes.
dug in. Like, you
Mhm.
can't just tell me that I'm going to Alaska in
Mhm.
one sentence.
Mhm.
We haven't prayed about it together. What about this ministry here? What about our kids?
Right.
Now, I did love Alaska,
Yeah.
but I always said when I
And
was there, I had been there twice now, 2
Mhm.
summers, and I said, I would move back here. In fact, I was thinking I was going to go there as a missionary before I met him.
And that's my confusion. I thought she would say,
You love it.
yeah, she had told me she'd love it. She told me she'd like to go back. And I thought, oh man, I get to give her wish.
We had a good ministry. I had friends. I had a nice house.
Yes.
By now, I have another child. I have
Number 4.
number 4.
Okay.
So
The roots are growing.
the roots are growing there, and I do not want to.
So you said, was that a calling from God, or did you just get off a phone call?
Right. And I knew that he was discontent. The
Mhm.
the
Yes.
people at the church were not responding the way he wanted.
Gotcha.
But I could not get rid of. I really prayed that God would just take this desire away, and it never went away.
So when did you move to Alaska?
After 6 years being at the
Yes.
church, 2 years of that being,
Back and forth and back and forth.
Yes.
And what they had us go up there and do a seminar,
Mm-hmm.
a sexual abuse seminar. That's part of my degree. And they liked us so much. They gave us the formal invitation to come back. So after 2 years, we decided to make the trip. Buying a 4-wheel drive truck and a car trailer, and because that's what I had researched and found I could resell all those in Alaska and make money on them, and
Yeah.
drove up there 4,000 miles. Halfway point, I was told to take your truck in and get all the oil changes because you're going to go over the mountains now on the Alaska highway, and did all that. The mechanic came out and said, this truck will not make it the rest of the way. You're going to be stranded out in the middle of the mountains somewhere. And I went to Maryland in tears. I've just made the worst mistake of my life. And I'm willing to turn around and go back. And he says, we're not going to make it. And she looks at me and gave me these life words that, and said, I don't think God would have brought us this far if he's not going to take us the rest of the way. And so we turned and kept going for the next 2,000 miles.
We made it. We came down into Palmer, Alaska. We were up there this winter, and we remember the exact hill that we came down with our truck, and he heard a clunk.
And my transmission went out.
No.
There was no mountains after this. We've come through all the mountains, and the transmission went out in Palmer. It's an hour into Anchorage. We didn't have
reverse or anything, but I just put it in first and drove the last probably 60 miles in first gear.
So we couldn't go back. We didn't have reverse.
So I'd always
God
pull
said
in.
there's no going
There's
back.
no reverse.
You can't.
That's right.
Wow.
We had to always find a way to keep going forward all the way till we got to the place where we were going to spend the night.
That's been one of the situations where we look at now is that the Lord really matured our marriage through that conflict and that struggle. And but more than that is that of our commitment to each other when neither one of us wanted to meet each other's needs. And to still be committed and to think of each other in good lights and with hope and with just a desire to, we're gonna work through this.
Yeah.
I feel like during that time period, I was loved in a way that I didn't deserve of her commitment, and I did not treat her well. I did not honor her like she deserved. Through the rest of our life and our marriage, I would say I could never give back to her enough of what she did for me during that time period. Because of her faithfulness and goodness, and other people would come along and say, you should just divorce him. And I wouldn't even entertain the idea of going to Alaska. So, I mean, I am just really blessed of her commitment and her love during that time. So then we were up there for 3 years is all. Had a good practice, made the most money I've ever made in my life.
Yeah.
It was really good. She struggled a little bit with depression for the first 6 months or a little more. But I look at it as just a normal experience of going there, and and then we're in the darkness all the time, and
It's amazing
all that
what
stuff.
that has on you, what the impact that
But
has.
the way she handled it, she said, we got to become outdoors people. Let's go get our heavy clothes and let's go cross-country skiing. Let's go snow skiing. Let's go ice skating.
I'm more of the let's go do something.
Okay,
than
gotcha.
he is. He's
Okay.
like, no, and then he'll come around. I'm the spark plug, but I'm also the person that would have all the negative things that could happen
Sure.
if you aren't careful with our kids when you're on that four-wheeler. all that
Yes.
kind- I definitely want details. He did not have details for Alaska. We went
We went by faith.
by faith.
Oh, how spiritual of you. Oh. So what brings you back then from Alaska?
Well, the church that I was saved in, by that time had lost 2 more pastors to unfaithfulness and
Oh, wow.
divorces. And they had been looking for a pastor for a while. And they called me and said, we don't trust pastors. They had dwindled down to between 60, 80 people. And we trust you. You were saved here. We worked in your life. We've seen you over the years. We've seen you through school. We've seen you all this, who you are. Would you come back and pastor here?
By then, I was enjoying being in Alaska. I've made another nest.
Yes.
I've got new friends,
Yes.
and this is where I belong now. I don't want to move. I came home for a wedding, and I had been gone 3 weeks now, which was way too long. I'm like, I made this way too long. I had
Yes.
several events that I did, but somebody at the church said to me, we have someone that we've called to be our pastor, and we don't think it's going to work out. Do you think Doug would consider it? And I said, oh, you ought to give him a call. And then I thought, why did I just say that? I don't want to move. I don't want to come back. I don't know why I said that. I was so upset with myself. When I got back, I told him, I said, you could get a call from Al. And he did.
Right away. Went through the process. We did everything we could to not be hired.
Yeah.
We thought, Lord, you can stop this any moment, but we have to be willing, if that's what you want us to be willing to do.
But they called us and they waited 8 months for us to come, or 7 months.
But we'd been there 3 years, the first youth pastor time, and then we were there 27 more years.
Wow.
So 30 years.
That's the longest you'd been in any one spot.
Yeah, we're still
long
there.
time.
We're still in
there.
our spot.
Yeah.
We bought the parsonage this time,
You did.
remodeled it
Wow.
ourselves, and that's where we still are.
Okay. All right. So then how do you get to Life Action?
When I was 66, I was moving toward. I had been moving towards retiring, and I was going to retire that spring. During that time, I was going to set up a private practice in counseling, and did not want to get licensed, and was going to just learn how to be a coach. And one of the people at Life Action was a mutual friend of a counselor that I knew in town. So I met with them, and we talked about how to run a practice when you're not licensed and all those things. And at the end of it, she said to me, I would like you to meet my husband, Dell, and just have him get to know you. So Dell and I met for coffee. I talked about my story. I talked about my dreams and how to use my retirement. And we had both decided that since she was a teacher and I was a pastor, we had been two separate lives, that we wanted to do ministry together in the closing years of our lives. And so we had already said to ourselves, we were going to, whatever practice we were going to do, we were going to have a retreat at our house for pastors. I did not know anything about Life Action. In fact, the only time I had heard about it was sometime in the 70s or early 80s. And I had seen this album with all these dresses and
Matching
suits
dresses.
on. Yeah, that everybody was uniformed. And I thought, I'm not interested in this place at all. This is not me. And he just said he was from Life Action. And I said, well, what is that place like?
Everything that he told him about this Life Action of the day, that sounds like a great place.
Yeah.
We had judged unfairly because we just didn't really know.
We were living in the past.
Yeah. And hadn't inquired enough. I mean, here it was 30 minutes from our church, and hadn't tapped into any of the resources that they had.
And we had tasted a pastor's retreat, and we knew how meaningful it was to our lives. And we really desired to have that for other pastors.
I remember when we left that retreat, I said to Doug,
Yeah, we both said to each other,
I wish we could do this for other pastors. And I thought, but we'll never be able to.
Yeah. What was it about the retreat experience that made you think that?
There was a safe place to go to, that we could say whatever we wanted to say about the ministry, about people in the ministry, the relationships we were able to build during that time. We were able to be honest with each other, talk about some things that we had struggled with in marriage for 30, 40 years.
We got to pause and just be seen, really. It was, for me, it was like I'm not just the pastor's wife. I'm not trying to fill any role. I'm just here, and you're talking to me
Mhm.
as an individual. And I really felt like we were seen.
Right.
Very,
And they were pouring into
they
you.
were pouring into
people
us.
that normally pour out to everyone else.
Right. And at that point, we were looking
Mhm.
down the road that it's not going to be that much farther till we retire.
Mm.
And I said, I just want to get renewed. I wanted to still have energy.
Yeah. What are those unique challenges that you've identified that pastors and their wives face that might be unique to that role?
Well, I think Marilyn made reference to it. Almost every pastor's wife that comes to the ministry feels like they're not seen, they're not heard, and then therefore they're not loved deeply.
And they sometimes feel even lost from their husband because he's so involved in the ministry, and that's where he gets a lot of his self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of feel like they're in the shadow. So a lot of them don't have good friends. And
Why is that?
well, at least in
Well-
our situation, when he comes home and tells me stuff that's going on in confidence, I can't tell anybody else, and I can't let them know even if I do know. So it's a tricky thing to be a friend to somebody that you know other stuff.
Yeah.
And some pastors' wives feel very loyal to their husbands, which I would agree with, but it's loyal to the senses I never can say anything wrong about him. You know, he is the pastor, and I have to help him have this image.
Which means their struggles that they might even be having in their marriage, they can't really
Stuff
reveal.
'em.
They just have to stuff it, and
And they slowly die.
maybe not to a huge degree, but we had done that. That's very, very common.
Yeah, I can
that they're
imagine.
struggling in their marriage in
Yeah.
some way because of the role that they have.
We're not the answer people. We're more people that want to engage with you, walk alongside with you, maybe give you insight in areas, but we're people that will offer you a relationship that will be encouraging, uplifting, and will give you hope, no matter what. Dell was really promoting, as well as a level of self-awareness that we feel is very important for pastors to have if they're going to walk humbly before God. But I think our biggest message we try to do with pastors and pastors' wife is something that we didn't do well, and that was how do you physically rest and mentally rest. So our goal always with the pastor's retreat is we say to them, we want you to be in the pastor for the rest of your life if you want to. And we don't want you to burn out. So how can you set up a rhythm that will help you maintain and build in your life instead of always be depleted?
Yeah.
And I think they see after just the 5 days that we have them at the retreat, which is pretty short, you can just see a change in them because of the rest, because of the pause that they've had, not only for that week, but it's given them time. We give them time to just be by themselves, to go off on a date, to have an evening by themselves, so that some of them just need some space.
Yeah. It's such a great balance of being poured into, but also time alone for true rest and true renewal. It's like they need both, right? They want to be seen, heard, loved, but they also just need some silence and solitude and rest. And you guys seem to provide a really nice balance of both of those things. And it's probably something that you learned the hard way going through of
Right.
what you might need. Who needs it? And what are the pastors who are coming to you? Why are they coming?
A lot of them are coming because they really need it, actually. But they're on their last breath. They are wondering if they're going to resign, and they just really need time to step back and say, is this really what God wants us to do? I would say almost all of them finish the retreat saying we've rethought our exhaustion and all, and we're going to make some changes, and we want to stay in this.
This last year, we had a man in his 30s come back a second time. He had been here last year, and then he came back this year. And they were at a crisis point. He was slowly being depleted, and he knew that he was in a crisis mode. I know his wife knew it, and his wife had insisted him to come, and we spent hours talking with him and counseling with him and crying with him, and then they came back again this year, and it was like they were at a different level, and they would take the similar material and went deeper with it, and they just responded to us just recently like, these have been key years or crucial years in our life, and they've changed our whole focus on ministry and how we do ministry.
And the second retreat, the one they came to this year, was the last retreat of this season. And they said, we came because we knew it was so good, but we didn't know how helpful it would be this year. Even hearing some of the same
Sure.
things, it's like,
Sure.
we needed it again.
So it's almost like a pause that
Yeah.
I feel like every pastor needs to take and kind of reevaluate their life, reevaluate where they're going, be sure that they're walking hand in hand with
Yeah.
the Lord in their calling,
Yeah.
and they're not just becoming the identity of the
Yeah.
church or the identity of some other significant leader, but they really
Sure.
were walking strongly.
Would you think a lot of people, a lot of churchgoers, do you think they'd be surprised to know how prevalent pastor burnout is?
I don't think they understand. It's becoming more known, but in general, I think people think it's an easy job.
So here's my last question for you all. What do you want pastors to know? Because I'm assuming it's hard for them and their wives to ask for help, to raise the flag and say, okay, I think I might need some intervention in terms of rest and renewal. What do you want them to know if they're kind of on the fence about that?
Everybody needs to have a pause in their life, whether they're a pastor or not. You need to have a pause to reevaluate. Where am I? Where am I going? Do I have the right rhythms in my life to be a good mom, to be a good dad? All the things. Well, in the role of pastor and pastor's wife, a heavier burden in some ways on them because they're still doing all those other things.
Sure.
And then they have a whole congregation that's looking to them. So for them, a pause just to be still. But when was the last time they were really still? And they will be blessed.
I would want the pastors to learn, if they have an awareness of their own lives and the lives of their family and the life of their wife, of how to have the courage to ask her, how are you feeling? What's going through your mind? Tell me what it's like to live with me. Because in my mind, you have ministry in the church, but your first ministry is to her and to your family. And at some point, you retire from the church and you have your wife and your kids, even adult kids. And if you haven't connected with them in significant ways before, you're going to have some struggles afterwards. So I think of that as an avenue of self-awareness and being able to listen and listen well. We have struggled as a couple. We still are struggling as a couple. But at the end of it, we become partners and we move forward, and there's an intimacy and a closeness that I would not trade for anything, for any job, for any, opportunity of significance or whatever. Just to be able to be with Marilyn would be, it's really my greatest joy.
Well, I don't think there's a better way to end this. Thank you both for sharing your story and just being so open and vulnerable about it. It's a really beautiful story. So appreciate you both.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Changed Lives. If you were encouraged or inspired by what you heard, I want to invite you to take the next step. You can support the people whose story you just heard and others like them by visiting lifeaction.org/changedlives. Whether through prayer, giving, or sharing these stories, you can be part of what God is doing to revive relationships and transform lives.